Hello, I'm Amanda with Carolina Pottery. We are at the Carolina Pottery in Smithfield, North Carolina, and today we're doing our April wreath class online since we're all sitting at home. So today's wreath we're going to do on a rail, and we carry these at Carolina Pottery, and we're going to use the black and white mesh. This is the 10-inch and it's 10 yards. It is cotton and fake jute mix, I believe, mesh. Then we have 3 ribbons to go with this. We got the white with the black polka dot, the red with the black stripe, and we've got the ladybug ribbon. We've also got 3 ladybugs in this. We've got a large ladybug, and we've got 2 of the smaller ladybugs to add in. The first thing that I like to do is cut my mesh, and these pieces we're going to do in a ruffle method. Okay, so with this mesh, doing the ruffle method, we're going to take it and we're going to measure it out 30 inches, and I've got my little handheld well, it's for the pocketbook. I also bought this at Carolina Pottery. It's neat for the women who like to carry them in their purses. And measure it out 30 inches. And as to how many pieces we're going to cut is going to be how many work ties you're working with for your wreath. And on this rail, we have got 8 ties. So we're going to cut 8 pieces, and we're going to cut them at 30 inches. What I have done to save time today is I have already went and cut my 8 pieces at 30 inches. And then we are going to start applying it to the rail. The best way that I have found to do the ruffle method, and there are several different ways, you've just got to find your own way of doing it, but I like to take it, and if you're working on a table or a surface that's flat like this, you can let it kind of hang over a little bit. You're going to gather it, the end that you cut, you want your cut ends you're going to go up it this way. In other words, your seamed edges are going to be on the side. That way all of your fraying is going to be inside and tucked in, and you won't have a lot of fraying with your finished product. So take it in the middle and just gather it like you're pleating it, and you're going to go all the way up the middle, and you just keep going till you get to the end, and kind of make sure that end part gets tucked into the back. Then you've got what is supposed to hopefully turn out like a little ruffle. You can always take it and pull it on each side, kind of get it to where you think it looks good to your eye. You're going to open up. I always start at the top of the rail, and I like to work my way down. That way I'm not working on top of the mesh I've already placed in and got it looking the way I want it to. So I'm going to open up my first tie. I'm going to place my mesh in. You want to make sure the back is down and the front is facing forward. You're going to twist your tie maybe like 2 times, because we're going to go back in and open those back up when we put the ribbons in. So next we're going to take another one, and we're going to walk it up. And this mesh does like to stick to stuff, so just be patient with it. We're going to get our ruffle the way we like it, where it looks kind of even on both sides. And I'm going to put this one in over here. Where I went this way with this one, I'm going to kind of go the opposite way with this one. That way we don't have a gap in the opening in the center. And if you put it in wrong or if it doesn't look right later, there's no reason to get upset, because with mesh, it's very forgiving. You can always take it out, put it back in, refluff it. It's a nice product to work with. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep doing the 8 links or 8 pieces of the mesh that we have, and we're going to put it in each tie until we get to the bottom. Okay, now we're at our last tie, so we're going to put our last piece of mesh in. If you get a scraggly like this here, that's just way too long. I don't know if you can see it or not, but you can just snip it off, or just wait till the end, because if you got some frays, you can cut them off at the end. Okay, so now that we have these in, this is what it should look like when you're done. So you have your 8 sections, and we've got our ties sticking up where we can go back in and add our ribbons, which brings us to the next step. So for this today, we picked 3 ribbons, and we measure these out, and for this particular rail, I measured them at 14 inches. And earlier, I had cut some just to get prepared for the time saving of the class, of the video. And so these are all cut at 14 inches. And you are going to need 8 altogether. So we're going to need, what I did is I put 2 ribbons in one tie and 1 ribbon in the next tie. And I kept going every other tie. So we're going to need 4 of each ribbon. If you're not understanding what I'm saying, you'll see it as we work on it. So let me get my little tape measure, my nifty tape measure out. And we're going to do 14 inches. And we're going to do 4 at 14 inches, all 3 ribbons. After you cut your first one, if you want, you can use that as a guide. You're going to cut your 4 of the polka dot, 4 of the red with the black stripe, and 4 of the ladybug. Once we have done that, there are several different ways you can finish off your ribbons on the ends. On this particular ladybug rail, I ducktailed the ends. That just gives it a nice finish on the end. I think it makes it look classy. So you're going to take your ribbon, you're going to fold it over. If you see it this way, you're going to take it and fold it back to you. Get your end straight, and when you cut, you're going to want to cut at the spine, at the fold, up, at a diagonal. Take it back, cut at the spine, and go up on a diagonal. So we're going to do that to every one of our ribbons also. That gives it that nice little finish we were talking about. So the way I like to do my ribbons is many different ways, but with this particular one, I put the ladybug by itself, and I put the red and black stripe and the polka dot ribbon together. This is a kind of busy ribbon, so I done it by itself, and I done the 2 simpler ones together. So I take the first 2 that I'm going to put in, my twist tie, I stack them on top of each other, fold them in half. When you fold them in half, that gives you your center point. So you're gonna open it back up where your fold was at. You're gonna gather it together. Then if you'll open that twist tie, just barely open it up where you can fit this back down in there and twist it back together. This time you can twist it a little bit more than twice because this is going to be the last time you go in this one. Take them and you're going to separate your two ribbons like an X so that they're crossing each other. The patterns are crossing each other. These are wired ribbons. I prefer working with a wired ribbon because you can always form them. They hold their shape a lot better. And if you run your fingers through it, across it, and across that wire, it'll give you whatever little shape to it that you would like to add. Rather than them just laying straight in the air or straight out. So the next twist tie, I'm gonna do the same thing, but I'm gonna do it with the one ribbon that I'm using with the ladybug. You're gonna fold it in half, get your center, you're gonna pinch it together in the middle, unfold, untwist your twist tie, stick it in, twist it back together, and you're gonna do the same thing with this one, but it's just the one ribbon, so you only have to work with the one ribbon, obviously. So we're going to continue going, and next one we're going to do the red and black and the polka dot again. So we're just going to rotate. All right, now that we have all of our ribbon tails in, this is what it should look like. Not there yet, but we're close. So next we're going to work on the bow. There are many different bows, different kinds of bows. I do a bow that a lot of people refer to as the funky bow. I'm not sure who started the funky bow. I do believe it was started by Julie Samaco. I do want to give credit where credit is due with Southern Charm Wreaths. And the way you go about making this bow is you take the ribbons of your choice, and this time we cut these at 14. This time we are cutting these at 24 inches. So we're going to get our tape measure out. This time we're going to go to 24 inches. Y'all bear with me, I do not have glasses on. So we're going to cut 3 of each of the ribbons at 24 inches, and we're going to dovetail the ends like we did on the tails over here. After we get done with that, we're going to have 12 ribbons, tails all together. So it doesn't really matter which one you start with, but I do try to rotate them so that they all are spread out nicely and not the same colors, not bunched up together. So I will do one of this one and then one of each and then go back in the process. So for the first one, we're going to make loops. Basically all we're doing is making loops and adding them in. So we're going to take this, we've already cut these at 24 inches. We got our tape measure out, so we're going to leave it because we are going to be measuring 5-inch loops. So 5-inch loop is going to be 10 inches because it's a loop. So you got 5 and 5. We're going to have 7-inch tails on these. So that's total of the 24 inches. That's where that came into play. So you stick your ribbon down here. Let me move these so you can see. So we're going to do a 5-inch loop. That's about right there. You're going to take it and you're going to scrunch it together. And you've got your loop. It's going to look just like this. Now we're wanting both of our tails to face forward. So you're going to go back behind and you're going to twist this ribbon to where it faces forward. And you've got both of those and you've got your loop. So we're going to go with the next ribbon, which I'm going to choose the red with the black stripe. While holding this in your hand, in your two fingers like this where it's gathered, we're going to do the same thing with this one. We're going to measure it out to 5 inches. We're going to bring it up beside this one, and we're going to scrunch it. We've got our 5-inch loop, and we've got our tail. We're going to take the one on the back, and we're going to twist it. We're going to take our third ribbon, and we're going to do the same thing. Measure out to 5 inches. We're going to scrunch it. About this time, about your third ribbon or so, it's going to get kind of thick. So it's going to start moving back into your two fingers. You can start holding it there. And if your hands start hurting, or your finger starts hurting, I should say, you don't have to hold this really, really tight. That's usually what will make your hand cramp really bad. So if you just kind of hold it loosely enough to where it's not going to fall out, and you can pull your loops out, and we're going to do that tail again. We're not going to forget that like I almost did. So we've got one of each ribbon, and we've got 3 loops. So now we're going to go back and do the same thing again. The only thing we're going to do different is where we take it at our 5-inch mark, we're going to flip this one upside down, holding our position, and we're going to gather it that way so our loop is now facing the opposite direction. We're going to take that back tail and we're going to flip it so it faces forward, just like that. Now all this we will straighten later. It might not look like a bow right now, but trust me, it will. So we're going to take our other ribbon, we're going to flip it upside down, we're going to gather it, we're going to flip that back around, take the black and white. You can also put it up against here to get your measurement if you want to do it that way. Some people like to be more precise and measure it out each time. But once you get used to doing it, you'll just kind of eyeball your loops and get them very close to the same size. As you're working on your bow, try to always keep your loops forward. That way they're always in the front. Might get a little hard to find them tails, but just find it and turn it around. It's easier to do it now than later. Then we're going to go back the last time, and we're going to go back in the position we started with them going upwards. Pull your loop forward, twist your ribbon tail. You can use this hand to help if you need to. Just don't let go of the loops, because if you do, you're going to have to start all over again. And believe me, I've done that. All right, so now we're at our last loop. We got one more loop. At this time it starts getting full. I just kind of put it where I can right in there. When we get it tied, we can separate. All right, so now that we got a handful of loops, we're going to take a floral wire, and we do sell this at Carolina Pottery also. I find about where the halfway mark is in my floral wire, and I take it and I put it back right behind my finger. I've raised my thumb up, I put it behind my thumb, and I hold it with my thumb, and then I take this side and I just wrap it around, and I go in between these two fingers and push it to the back, pull it to the back. Then I'm going to take this side, let's do it this way. I'm going to take this side We're going to bring it to the back, and we're going to put it back behind those same 2 fingers. So we got both of our wires behind those 2 fingers. We're going to take our 2 wires with our right hand, or left, whichever one you're using. We're going to take it and we're going to hold these 2 ribbons tight. You want the middle of your bow really tight, because that's what holds it together and makes it really stand out at the end. You're going to, instead of twisting the wire, you want to try to twist your bow. It makes, for some reason, it makes a tighter knot. So you want to twist your bow, and using this as a resistance and twist it, and then you can let go of it. If your hand's killing you, you can then drop for a minute and rest your hands. Then just twist this a couple of times. Make sure you're secure. And I always hold my wire, and then I try to take it and I start fluffing my loops up. Bringing them forward. And even though you're bringing them forward, you can still let these tails be mixed in. Some of them that you twisted so they would face forward have returned, so you might have to twist them back again to get them to face the way that you want to. Remember the wire I was telling you about in this ribbon? You can take it and run your fingers around up behind it and smooth it out, and it kind of gives it a little loop factor in there, and it just gives you a little bit fuller looking bow with some fun little tails. So I do a little bit of fluff into my bow right now, but once I put it into the design, that's when I finish the fluffing. All right, now that we've got our bow made, to place this, there on the rail, you've got the top bar going across the back right here. This is where I applied the bow. The floral wire, I set my bow up here. Honestly, what I do is I look at my bow and I find there's always one side or one area, I think, of a bow that always seems to look better or turns out better than the other side. So the side that I think looks better is the side that I'm going to have facing downward. It's just something that's my little thing. You'll get your little things as you start. So if we take the rail and we've set this, kind of separate the mesh from the top, and we've got that rail right there, we're going to take our floral wire and we're going to kind of straddle that, if you can see it, in between all this mesh. We're going to straddle that top bar, and we're going to take these two and we are going to twist our bow on. And make sure you do it tight, because you don't want your bow falling down in to your wreath or your rail, whatever you're designing. You don't want your bow to fall down down into the product. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. Anyway, you don't want your floral wire also, when you hang this, to scratch your wall. So it's always a good idea to take floral or wire cutters and cut that off, that excess, and then bend that floral wire in so that it's no rough edges to scratch your wall or door or wherever you may be hanging it. So now we have our bow in. You can start fluffing it and getting it the way you want it. Bringing those loops forward again. Working with those ribbon tails. And when you think you've got it the way you want it, then you can stop. Now that we've got our bow in, it's time to add the ladybugs. So I took the larger ladybug first. I applied it down here, and I put the two small ones over there. You, of course, can put your ladybugs wherever you want, but I'm going to do the same as I done last time. So with this ladybug, this is like a fabric, a cloth on her body. I took a floral wire and I kind of poked it into the fabric, brought it over about maybe an inch, and then I kind of held down with my finger and poked it through the other side, and then I brought these two forward, and this is how I attach the ladybug. I do go ahead and hold it right here, and I twist it a couple of times, and I do that just to keep this from ripping once it gets put into the wreath and hanging so that it don't rip. If you tie it right there, it kind of helps support that. So I go in, we've got the ladybug in between the second and third twist on the left side. I just took the wire and I poked it right through this mesh. It will go right through the mesh. We're going to put it in one side of the rail. And then I'm going to take this one. If I can hold all of this, I'm going to take this one and I'm going to poke it through the other side of the rail, through the mesh. And then when I get a hold of them, one's on one side, one's on the other, I'm going to pull it, and I'm holding it by that crossbar right there. You can hold it wherever feels better for you. But I'm just going to pull it a little bit to get my ladybug tight, and I'm going to get them positioned the way that I kind of want her. I guess it's a her, not a he, right? Or is there both in ladybugs? I don't know. They're called ladies, so I guess they're female. That's a good question. We're going to twist it. Once again, cut those wires and fold that in. And then you've got the large ladybug is in, and he's pretty secure. She is pretty secure. She's not going anywhere. Okay. Now we have two little ladybugs. And with these little guys, they've got feet that are actually like little hooks on the back. So this really worked out good, putting it in. So I've got one in the first tie, or the second tie it looks like, or in between the first and second tie. And then the other one is about the same way down on this end. So I just took the stick and the twist tie, I kind of stuck it down. You can untwist it just a little bit to where you can get this guy stuck in there, and then twist him in with your ribbons and things. And if you want, you can take your feet and kind of push it into the mesh, the claws on the back, or the little arms or hooks. And I just put it in the mesh, worked it in the mesh, like grabbing a hold of it, just because it helps it set in there a little bit. That one's up a little higher than the other one. Like I said, you can place them where you'd like. I think we'll put the other one right in here. So we can undo this twist tie. We can stick this little guy in. You can poke this through the mesh also, and that kind of helps conceal it. And I'm hooking the little claw in like we did the other one. Okay, so now we have completed our ladybug rail. And where you see these ties sticking out, where we're through working with them, I just take and kind of fold them back in. You can kind of leave them if you like them, use them part of the decorations. It is part of what you purchased and paid for. So I kind of use them as part of the accessorizing of it, if you will. But you can also bend it and poke it in so they don't stick out as far. And that will finish up today's class. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you soon.